Assalamu alaikum, comrades. My name is Lady Izdahar and I'm a historian on Eastern Europe and Russia, primarily focusing on Soviet history. And today I want to talk to you about my love or obsession with maps. I collect maps, I love maps and flags, like vexillology, the study of flags as well, and I'm just constantly surrounded by geographically inspired things. Every day I use this East German map case as my purse, which I do keep maps inside of. I have many globes in my collection, this Soviet Talon Rahu 87 being my most recent acquisition. Look at it, it's amazing. And one of the many books I have on this shelf at all times is The Red Atlas, one of the best books on Soviet cartography. So yes, okay, we established I like maps. So what are we doing today? Well, in my research, I am constantly digging through archives of imagery, archives of photography, and I've recently come across quite a few images of people looking at maps, appreciating maps like I do. Well, not really. Most of them are in war and they need it for strategic purposes. So let's look at me looking at others, looking at maps. Yes. And before we get right into it, I need to express why it is so important to be geographically literate. We all inhabit this earth. It is our obligation to understand where things are and who lives on it, especially in times like we live in now, where there is constant conflict all across the globe. How can you have an opinion on a place if you don't even know where it is? I feel like the very basics, the first thing you should do before talking about a subject in another part of the world is understand where it is and how that location relates to you and the rest of the world. So get a map, look at it, study it, know the basics, and then come back and I'll respect you a tiny bit more. I hope that wasn't too rude. I have feelings. I have a lot of feelings about geography and people's lack of understanding where things are. It's meant to be encouraging. Just please learn. Americans are laughed at enough. At least prove them wrong and understand that this globe is named after the capital of Estonia. Because I was one of those cringy kids in high school. One of those. I was the only one who was quizzing people like, you don't know the capital of Estonia? You're stupid. But to be fair, the entire high school I went to was painted like the Estonian flag, so I was constantly thinking about Estonia. It was just not what anyone else was thinking. So the first image we're looking at isn't a photograph at all, as I just previously mentioned. It's actually the cover of a miniatures set, which includes someone looking at a map. And I love this photo, or this illustration, because that man is me. That's me pointing at the map, trying to date it. I just wanted to include this one first because that is the kind of thing that we're looking at, and that is something I relate to. These are all images that I relate to greatly. Is anyone else finding this as fascinating as me? Look at that man, look at that map. He knows where things are. So next we have a bunch of men huddled around a map, presumably before going into battle. I believe these are pilots, so maps are incredibly useful to know where you are flying to and dropping bombs. But yes, look at these Soviet men looking at a map. Yes, very relatable. In the next picture, we have three men outside of looks like a bunker that has been dug into a hillside. It's actually a really nice photo. I like the composition of this, and they all look so stylish. Very, very inspirational for me as far as fashion and map looking. But yeah, I just love looking at these historical photos and thinking, what exactly were they planning? What were their fears? What were their concerns? What was on that map? Soviet map making was ahead of its time, among many other things in the Soviet Union. And so I know, even though I can't see the map, that it was indeed a good map. Now this photo is one of my favorites. I actually have information on this photograph. A lot of them, they're not dated. We don't really know. We know they're from the Great Patriotic War, but a lot of the information is lost. This is the Soviet army on the Kalinin front in the defensive position in a dugout in 1942. Now this photo makes me smile. And it's funny because I talk greatly. I literally just made a video about don't sexualize Eastern European women. However, I personally cannot look at this photo without just noticing the girl in the middle surrounded by men and just how familiar everyone is with one another. And I'm just like, this girl fucks. And you can't tell me otherwise. And that's why I like this photo, because I just feel like look at it and tell me you don't see that. But it's a really nice snapshot as well, including like the guy who's walking from the back to meet up with them, supposedly. It's just a really cool shot. I'm not entirely sure how candid this one is compared to others. Of course, in war photography, there are a lot of photos that end up being staged and used for propaganda purposes. This may or may not be the case. I just feel like with the vibe that I'm getting from it, it's hard to think that it would be a propaganda photo, because wouldn't everyone think what I'm thinking? Or am I just corrupted beyond saving? Ya Allah. Okay, let's move on. I forgot to introduce this one somehow, but here is my commentary on it. Yeah, everyone has a great hat. I can only assume it's a great map. Again, an interesting thing to think about is in the plans that they are making, in the land that they are familiarizing themselves with, how many of these men would lose their lives soon after, either due to the instructions that they received, due to their geographic position in the world, or due to their lack of understanding where they were on that map and where they were supposed to go. Grim, but fascinating. This next one I'm almost 100% sure is staged, or it might even be from a movie. Oh, what a bad archivist I am, not even knowing where most of these photos come from. But it just looks very staged to me. It's a beautiful photo, which is why I think it is staged, just the way that everything is set up. Oh, it doesn't seem like a very candid moment, but it's nice nonetheless. One guy's pointing, one guy has binoculars, the other guy is just it seems staged. So hey, it's great propaganda. I like it. Now this photo is great because you can actually see the map, and everyone is there to see the map, so it must be a great map. Or again, their lives heavily depend on understanding that map, and that's probably the more likely reason. But this one's interesting. There's just a lot of people. There's a lot of Soviets looking at that map, and they need to. I just like this next one because I couldn't quite tell what they were in. It looks like it could be that they're in a ditch, but they're also surrounded by bushes. So I just like the idea of everyone gathering around a map while in the middle of bushes. I just like this one. They're submerged in the earth in a way that I cannot tell. And there's a map. Wonderful. Now these men are in the safety of a walled off interior. So this makes me believe that they're likely actual strategists trying to figure something out before sending this information actually to the front. It doesn't look like a makeshift sort of housing they would be in amongst the war. So this makes me believe they must be at least a little high up. Two of them are also a bit older looking, so that makes me believe they're not soldiers on the ground, but rather people making some big boy decisions. I also believe there's a map case hanging up in the background, and I appreciate map case relatability. Now these two women are pilots indeed. I'm not sure if they're the infamous night witches. There are many different female pilots that weren't just the ones highlighted and acclaimed and used in media and such. But I like it because again, they're looking at a map case, and I love map cases, as I mentioned before, and I don't know if you understand, but they're still used today in militaries because you can't completely rely on GPS, and these are also weatherproof, so you can put your little pencils and eraser in it, right? I took my map out of this because I wasn't sure if everyone would agree with me having a map of the DPRK in here, but as you can see, it is plastic, so it is waterproof and it is pretty protected, and yeah, it's great for documents, but intended for maps, and these girls were using it. Another beautiful colorized shot of a pilot looking at a map in a map case. This was not originally shot in color. I believe this was colorized after the fact, but it's a beautiful photo nonetheless. I really like this one. You might have seen it. I feel like it's a popular one. Have you seen any of these photos? Let me know. Just another cool shot of some pilots, both men and women, looking at either documents or maps. Can't really tell, the resolution's quite poor. What do you expect? Whatever they're looking at, it's important, and one can assume there is a map involved at the very least. Now, I saved some of the best images for last. Now, this is pre-war. This is from 1935, and it's frustrating because I see this photo mixed up with another photo similar of Stalin. Now, Stalin here is dressed up in Tajik traditional dress amongst many maps. I just love it. Everything about this. Assalamu alaikum, Comrade Stalin. The context here is that he was visiting a collective farm in Tajikistan of the advanced collective farmers. I'm assuming they just excelled beyond expectations, and so this was a bit of a reward. And in this special visit, he was dressed up among his other colleagues in Tajik traditional dress, and it's really cool, and it's produced some awesome photos. Of course, this one I'm showing you right now with all the maps in the background, but also this close-up I see a lot use. Yes, Tajikistan, not Uzbekistan. There are other photos of Stalin in traditional Uzbek dress. This is different. This is a different one. Don't mix it up. Thank you. But it just makes me happy. Like, maps are the perfect background, and he understood that. Now, there's likely a purpose for those maps. I just do not know the purpose at this time. Could anyone give a guess as to what those maps were for? Because it goes beyond the collective farm they're at. Who knows? Maybe it was some sort of presentation like, this collective farm over here did shit, but your collective farm over here on the map, that's why I'm here. This is another photo I forgot to react to because I found it after filming this, but this is in an Islamic school in Uzbekistan, and they're learning geography. How cool is that? In the 1960s. And lastly, I wanted to highlight some art. There is quite a bit of Soviet propaganda posters, not as many that have been translated or seen widely in the Western world, of geographic education. So here is one from a postcard, not necessarily a propaganda poster, quote unquote. And I like it. I relate to this teacher. I'm like, learn where the fuck things are, child. And he's like, yeah, I know where that is. In the far east of the Soviet Union. It's a cute picture. And next is this woman. Like, I don't know if you understand, I'm always looking for imagery, including maps, and it's just so difficult to, search for the right things and spend so much time looking for something and coming up dry. This is one of the few images where there is a woman pointing at a map or doing something with maps that I like and I relate to because I'm a woman who likes maps. Though I believe she is some sort of like fire watch sort of person. Does that make sense? This has nothing to do with like war strategy. She has a job that includes keeping her eyes on this map. Perhaps a fire watch, perhaps something else. I'll let you know if I find out. But yes, I enjoy women specifically looking at maps and using them practically because that's what I do. All right, comrades, did you enjoy me looking at other people, specifically Soviets, looking at maps, but not looking at a map itself? I hope you enjoyed. I just felt like doing this because I had a strangely large number of people looking at maps photography in my recent saved photos, and I thought I would share them with you. Do you like maps? I would hope you do if you made it this far. Anyways, I hope you had as much fun as I did relating to people looking at maps. You can find me here on YouTube, on Instagram, and TikTok, and follow me on Patreon if you want to support me there. I produce educational content, usually, in regards to humanizing the people of the Soviet Union with cultural context. If that interests you, stick around. If not, I'll only be a little bit offended and hurt by it. So, yeah. All right. Have a nice day and be inspired by history. And learn geography, please. Come back here next time and know where something is, and I'll appreciate it. Goodbye.